Daniel 2. The king of Babylon has a dream he was later told by prophet Daniel, was an image of the king and others in the Middle East. They make up one body, and the end of their kind will be brought about by God. The golden head of the statue was the king of Babylon and the greatest of all the empires, not because of territory gain, but due to human innovation and achievements. It was the best. God then said a Persian kingdom, silver chest and arms, will replace his but be inferior. The next empire, bronze waist, the Greek, was inferior still, but able to subdue the known earth. The next was divided into two legs of iron. The Roman Empire ended up divided between East and West Empire. It was able to crush all opposition empires. The final empire, Ottoman, was represented by the feet mixed with iron and ceramic. It was powerful, but made up of people who did not like each other, so the empire would be weakened. During its time, Christ would return to destroy the idea of empire. That means the Ottoman Empire rebuilds itself, but is in a precarious position. The next beast is found in Daniel 7, and here we read about the four winds mentioned in Revelation 7. In Bible prophecy, the Great Sea is a metaphor for the societies of humans, and beasts is metaphor for empires. Here we find the vision of four great beasts rising from the societies of people. The first king of this empire was like a lion. It had eagle's wings, meaning powerful wings, a metaphor of a being that it is used by God. The wings were plucked. It ceased to be a godly tool by force. It was then forced into becoming a man and feeling like a man. Metaphor of a change of mind being forced upon it. The next beast looked like a bear, destroying everything. This empire did plenty of killing. It had 3 ribs in its mouth. Note that the son of the devil subdued 3 leaders to get to be the most powerful, Daniel 7. This empire, beast, was at rest before it went on a killing destruction phase. The next beast was a 4-headed leopard with 4 bird wings. The empire had developed a coalition of 4 religious ruling groups. Keep in mind that a leopard is inferior to a lion and a bear. The 4th beast was horrifying to look at, very powerful, strong, meaning in muscles and size. Its teeth were made from iron. This beast ripped everything apart with its man-made teeth and then moved across the destruction, wiping the attacked societies completely out of existence. It was nothing like the lion, the bear, or the leopard. It just utterly destroyed everything. This fierce creature had 10 horns. Horns being metaphors for leadership. 10 leaders controlled the beast. Another horn appeared, small but able to destroy 3 of the 10 leaders before coming to power. This fits perfectly into Daniel 11. The son of the devil arrives into a kingdom, Turkey, beginning to establish itself as an empire, and its first leader being doomed for another leader who turns out to be the son of the devil. This final leader thought very highly of himself. It was God who destroyed him and set up the kingdom of Jesus. It was this final little leader who fought against God's saints for 3.5 years, and was initially winning the battle, but then lost. The saints beat him. The 4th beast takes over the entire earth, as the 3 earlier versions did not, and destroys the whole planet system of societies. The original empire was started by the 10 kings, but taken over by the son of the devil who knocked out 3 of them to gain his authority. What is always told about this beast vision is that it is Babylon, Persia and Greece, and a revived Roman Empire. Wrong. The last empire in the Middle East was Ottoman, and that cannot be ignored. There will not be a revived Roman Empire. Which leads to the question of, why skip an empire? Babylon, Persian, Greece, Roman, Ottoman, 5 empires. What if this prophecy is only talking about the final empire? The creation of the final Middle East empire? Which it is. And we know this because these events are in Daniel 11 and more thoroughly discussed. And most notably, Revelation 13 says, this is the attributes of one empire, the final empire, and not 4 separate empires. It's 4 major progressive changes towards evil that developed within the one final empire in the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire is the Turkish rule of the Middle East and stretched out beyond, and it was majestic and religious, just like the lion with 2 great eagle's wings. And the religious bodies of the Europeans plucked its wings by World War I. In 1922, the Ottoman Empire shut itself off, like a fatal head wound mentioned in Revelation 13 and 17. No more sultan or king, but a president in 1923. In 1924, the Caliphate and Sharia courts were shut down. This end of the religious influence was established further in the nation of Turkey's constitution in years 1928 and 1937. The Caliphate, religious leadership of the Muslims, was halted by law. The Ottoman Empire word for lion is Asian. But the lion was not quite dead.
We come to the prophecy of the bear. It awakens and rises to destroy utterly. In Daniel 8 we are told a horrific battle breaks out between Iran and Turkey. Because as it says in the beginning of Daniel 11, the Iranians get other nations to look upon the Turkish government with animosity after defeating the United States, Israel and Arab enemy nations. The Turks then completely destroy Iran, Daniel 8. But they go further. In Daniel 11 they enter Israel and pursue Israel to the lands of Greece, where presently 2026. The Greek government has sold the Zionist islands to rebuild themselves. This will be the destruction presented of the bear. The Turks are beaten back by a Western force and the Turkish president killed. The leopard beast has 4 heads and bird's wings so it can fly in its attack. In Daniel 8, the Turkish government suddenly changes after their Iran attack. The Turkish leader who conquered Iran dies and is replaced by 4 religious political parties. The son of Satan emerges from one of the 4. Daniel 8. And the bear beast that appears before this leopard beast has 3 ribs in his mouth. Daniel has also said 3 of the 10 horns are subdued by the son of the devil when he comes to his power. The next time a beast is mentioned occurs hundreds of years later in the book of Revelation. Once more it rises from the society of human beings. So it is human created. This had 7 heads and 10 horns, each horn having a crown. We know heads are governments. They are the head of the beast. We also know horns always represent kings in that empire. The heads affront God's authority, usurp it. Its body was like a leopard's. Remember the leopard? He has the feet of a bear. Remember the bear? The mouth was like a lion's. Remember the lion? All from Daniel 2. This time we find all our previous beasts compiled into one beast. The previous description was of one empire, not 4 separate empires. One of the 7 heads, Ottoman, seems to have been ended but came back to life, as witnessed in Daniel 7 and detailed in Daniel 11. The other 6 Middle East empires were Egyptian, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek, and Roman. This beast is the Ottoman Empire and its rebirth. This empire was promoted by the devil, given his power, his authority, and his governing ability. It was the ultimate superpower. No one would be able to fight against this empire, so it must have been nuclear weapons and was known to use them or be willing to use them. The people of the world marveled at its presence. They also worshipped the devil unknowingly, and at the same time worshipped the empire they witnessed come into being. Why? Worshipping an empire means elevating a geopolitical state, its rulers, or its ideology to a divine or unquestionable status. It merges political loyalty with religious devotion, treating the empire's power, expansion, and prosperity as sacred. Political religion. Modern political sciences often point to hyper-nationalism as a secular form of worshipping an empire. When a state's history, flag, and leaders are treated with uncritical reverence, the nation effectively becomes an object of worship. This is not hard to believe, as people in the Western world always vote for their own demise, thus worshipping one political party or leader without question. And that happens with this final Middle East empire. Therefore, for that to occur, there must have been a great threat in the minds of the citizens to see the need of the empire's protection. The nations of the Far East, perhaps. As proven by the wording in Revelation 13:4, the Western world will become so weak by the wealthy political warmongering with China and Russia, the stupid economic decisions by its politicians, the poisoning of its cultural identity and food supply, and unvetted migrations as to depend upon this Middle East empire for its security against the Far East, namely China, Russia, North Korea, etc. This is why Revelation 13 says they willingly worship the beast, with the exception of those who know what's going on. There are 10 nations represented by the 10 kings that make up this Middle East empire: Iraq, Syria, Kuwait, Oman, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Yemen. Initially, Zionist Israel will support this, the woman riding the beast in Revelation 17. A second beast, the leader of this new Ottoman Empire, is the son of the devil, having all the devil's persuasive power to get people to agree to digital ID, because if you don't, you starve to death. All those who understand that empires are named after the men who started them, then that man's name and the empire's name have the letters that correspond to Hebrew or Aramaic numbers that add to 666. The next and final beast appears in Revelation 17 and chapter 18. The Bible prophecy reference to a woman is a group of people connected to religion. And here we find a woman riding the beast. She's called a whore, meaning she sold herself to depravity in exchange for wealth and power. The description of her is extensive. She gave birth to other whores who also sold themselves into depravity for wealth and power. Which religious-like group is she? Let's identify her. She sits among the heads and the horns of the beast. We know the beast identifies as empire in the Middle East. It has 7 heads: Egyptian, Assyrian, Babylonian, Persian, Greek. These are the 5 that we are told have fallen. The 6th one is the Roman Empire, because we are told that it existed when the book was written in 90 AD. The Roman Empire. The 7th, the Ottoman, was to come. The woman, we are told, has always sat upon each of these empires, so that means she is connected to the empires of the Middle East. The beast empire she sits upon also is the finale, or the 8th, which is connected to the 7th, Ottoman Empire. So the 8th is a reborn Ottoman Empire, and the woman, this group connected to religion, is around in the final rebirth of the Ottoman-like empire. We are told the beast's 10 horns are 10 kings that don't exist in 90 AD, but will exist within the final empire. They are supportive strengths of the final empire. In fact, they are the empire in the Middle East, the last one. And it is they who attack God's saints, those who recognize Jesus as Savior. But Jesus destroys the attackers. Obviously, these countries have not begun to reign yet. The woman, group connected to religion, is connected to the people of the entire planet. Therefore, everyone knows of her. We are told she is wiped out by the 10 kings who grow to hate her, or hate this group, religious in nature. She has a death. We are told that the woman is a great city that reigns over the earth. Remember that Jerusalem is said to be the city that will one day rule over the entire earth. But before it was called Jerusalem, its original name was Zion. If this woman is a Zionist, it should turn up in the next chapter, 18, where the destruction of the final empire is found. And remember, the lands given to Abraham existed within all 7 empires of the beast, and she sits among the 7 empires. In chapter 18 we see the end of the woman who rode the beast. The 10 kings of the last empire, based upon the Ottoman Empire, destroyed her. We are told the woman's name is Babylon. We are also told that she had the attitude that she could do whatever she wanted to, and nothing would destroy her, just like Zionist Israel today. As the mighty people of the earth watch her destroyed by the 10 nations she existed with, they feel it is a great loss. With her downfall, the wealthy of the earth end up in economic chaos. They lost all their wealth. The money connected to her support of them was now over. The merchants connected to her were the great men of the earth. She was able to trick them into accepting her, all the nations of the earth. In this city, the saints and the prophets, Jesus included, were murdered. This was Jerusalem, historically called Zion. This woman is the prophecy of the Zionists. What we can learn from this prophecy is that sometime soon the Turkish government will seek a union of Muslim Arab nations within the Middle East. It will succeed. 10 nations will form a union. These are the 10 options to choose from: Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and the Turkey as the head. I don't include Lebanon because it really has no government, and Israel is fixing to take the South Lebanon and annex it. As well, Kuwait used to be part of Iraq. Azerbaijan is not in the Middle East, and Egypt is mostly in Africa and a rival of Turkey. Plus, Daniel 11 says Egypt does not join Turkey, but is in competition with it. That leaves 10 nations. The Zionist government of Israel will guide them, but be invaded and destroyed by them soon after. This is also the fate of North Africa. Daniel 11:42-43. Next on Bible prophecy with the metaphors removed. Daniel 11, the prophecy about the end times in the Middle East.